Jason's trying to be organized for once in his life.
I just put a save on the camera.
Okay, so it's been a couple of days and finally the weather is nicer again, but it is windy, so bear with that. So here's what happened. I got over to where the car was living at for the moment and put the battery in, as you saw, got the car running, and so well and good. Hopped inside to grab the day use permit, the old one, because you have to turn it in to get a new one from AAA in this case. And that's when I discovered the giant puddle of water sitting on the floor, which was obviously a really, really bad sign. So my dad and I kind of decided, well, heck, you know, that's bad, but I still need to get the car smogged so I can register it, so I could then theoretically drive the car out to a friend of mine a couple states away to sell it to her because she needs a car, blah, 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 blah. Well, Yeah, the leak was a big problem, and then this car's always had a problem with the front windshield fogging up. No matter how much you ran the defroster or the AC, if it was cool or damp, always fogged up. Really, really irritating, and actually a bit of a safety issue, but that's besides the point. So we limped the car a couple of miles from where it was at to where it is at now, where it's easier to work on, and we proceeded to remove this cover here, which allows you access to the bottom of the windshield and all the drains and stuff. So you might have seen that in the hyperlapse. Oh, one other thing to mention is, because this car is so old, the plastic on it is super brittle. So that was also another big red flag. I went to pop this cap off to put a little more antifreeze in, and it literally just cracked on me as I was very gently trying to put it back on. So at that point, this and the leak made it obvious that it was like, okay, this is not that, and the car pretty much limping along was pretty much a sign that trying to drive the thing a couple of states to give it to a friend of mine, well, sell it in this case, wasn't exactly a very smart idea, which is definitely a bummer because, well, that's its own separate thing, but that's another story for another time. So I'm not going to pull the cover off now because it'd be kind of a pain, but what my dad and I did is, in like drizzly, wet, crappy conditions, because we were still thinking, well, we can still get the thing to the smog place, you know, before they close, blah, 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 blah. Pulled this off, and we found that both of the drain pockets over here had a fair bit of water in them, which is kind of a problem, but it gets better. Coming in over here, you'll notice we have a fan running here, and we have a fan running there, and we have the carpet pulled up. Over here is where the massive amounts of water intrusion was, whatever, I don't care. That wasn't good. So we ended up pulling out, I'm not going to shut the camera in there because it's dark, but there's a blower motor up here, and we noticed the water was leaking in from there. So we cleaned out the drains. They were pretty full of crap, which was a problem. But then things went from bad to worse because up inside there, we're not sure of the extent of it, and we're not in a rush to figure it out. Obviously, getting everything dry is the #1 priority, but we figured out that there was a rodent that has a tail, and presumably by the size of the crap that it left behind. It was a large one, and I'll leave it to your imagination what that was. It was not a guinea pig, I can tell you that much, but it was about that size probably. It was living up inside there, and we're not entirely sure if it had built a nest inside the HVAC system or next to it, but that's not a good sign. So at some point we're gonna probably get up in there and kind of figure out the extent of things, but sadly I'm really at a crossroads here with what to do with the car, because obviously this car has, as you can see on the odometer, just over 40,000 miles, and the thing does run and it does move, but it's, you know, it's like I put a couple $100 into a new windshield on the thing, and the plastic inside is, you know, somewhat old and cracking. I mean, it's in decent shape, so I don't want to seem like I'm just, you know, saying the car is a junkyard piece, but at the same time, with an older car like this, at what point are you just throwing money into something that's not worth it? So that's gonna kind of put the brakes on things for now. Danielle and I, at least, were thankfully able to salvage what we could of our original trip plans, so we're gonna be doing that, and hopefully the problems on this aren't as bad as we think they are, and we can at least, you know, sell the car locally. But if it just kind of turns into this snowball effect of one problem leads to another, I hate to say it, but this car might be taking a one-way trip to the junkyard. But if you guys have, you know, suggestions on what to do, if you have any advice for, you know, sanitizing the HVAC system in here, please leave some, you know, helpful, useful comments down below. If anybody has experience with the Mazda Protege LX with water intrusion from here, please comment down below. I'm trying not to take the easy road out on this. I do want to try and get the thing fixed up, but I also understand that obviously you can only do so much. So that's where we're at on this thing. It's definitely not how I wanted to end 2021 and start 2022, but you know what? It's probably better to figure out now than halfway down the road and then you find there's a big problem. So that's where we're at. I'll see you guys here next time on Make It with Calvin with hopefully some slightly better news about this, but we'll see. Fingers crossed.